I think all of that stuff, like, hot yoga, Pilates, all of those things can be very helpful and beneficial. But I still believe that one of the biggest basics that should be a fundamental staple is lifting weights. And that's not just for an athlete. I believe that it is for everybody.
Level up. Hey, level up. Yeah, 'cause I'm getting louder. Hey, level up.
Welcome to the Turf, powered by D1. Man, we are so excited to have two-time national champion, Florida Gator.
That's tough for you to say.
First rounder and media celebrity on the Turf podcast. Welcome, Tim Tebow.
What's up, my friends? How you doing, buddy?
Man, excited to have you.
Thank you, of course. So glad to be here.
I'd love for you to if you could go back to when your dad, I heard the story that he built you a weight room so you could lift weights. Tell us about that.
A weight room might be a little hyperbole in building it up. As you know, we were a missionary family that didn't necessarily have a lot of money. And when I was young, I started to learn about weightlifting and how it could help you as an athlete and make you better. And also because I had a brother that was 3 years older and another brother that was 6 years older, and they were going, and my oldest brother was playing high school football. And so he started to lift and train. And I said, man, could I do that? And this is so exciting and it's surreal. Man, I could do something every day to improve and get better and be a better athlete and a better competitor. And I was so driven about, I loved winning and I hated losing even more. And so I thought, man, if there's something I could do to get better, like I want to do it, and I want to do that all the time. And I was so driven, and so I was asking my parents, could we get any form of weight set? And this is, all of those things that are, on TV and advertisements and the Bowflexes and everything else that's out there. Could we get any form of weight set? And my parents just couldn't afford any of it. But for one Christmas, just one of my favorite stories about my dad, just because he's more than a dad, he's also a hero to me. But he just stayed up, for several nights in a row, welding together different weights that he had gotten, and PVC pipes that he's putting together, and rope to be able to have like a tricep extension pull down, and welded weights together, and then was able to get a weight bar and old rusty bar, and but it was just so special, and he gave it to me for Christmas. He went out, took me to the barn, and said, hey, and I knew it wasn't as nice as what a lot of people had, but what was special is the love and dedication and passion that was put into it. And I just had such a determination that, it won't be the fanciest, but it will be used the most. It will be used the most. And all of the kids that are going to have a gym membership and a part of these fancy gyms, they won't know the blood, sweat, and tears that were put into it, because fancy doesn't beat dedication, and fancy doesn't beat discipline. And I was so determined, one, to just try to be better, but also to honor my dad with the work that he put in. And I was just so grateful for it. And when you receive something like that was built out of such love, that he would support me in my journey with everything that he could, then I was going to try to honor him with everything that I could in the way that I used it to.
That's powerful. I love that. What
And by the way, it's still up to this day.
No way.
Yeah.
We got to get a picture of that. We got to get a picture of that. So thinking back to then, how old were you when was that Christmas? Like,
I was young. So if my brother's 6 years older, he would have been in high school. So he would have been probably 16, 17. And so I probably would have been 10, 11-ish.
Oh, so you started training weights 11?
Yeah, probably just before. Before I even got that, I read a book about Herschel Walker that I know he's a Georgia guy, so I'm sorry, everybody. And I'm also, all the colors in here, red and black, so this is a Tennessee Vol. So, but I read a book when I was young about Herschel Walker that he would wake up every day and do 400 push-ups and sit-ups. And so before I got the weight set, I started to try to do that as many times a week as I possibly could to train. And so I even was training a little bit before that. And then when my dad got me some of these weights, welded them together and put the PVC pipes together, and I started using that. And yeah, that was probably at 10, 11.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you actually trained with Herschel Walker at a D1.
I did.
Remember
Yes,
that?
I
Remember that?
do.
When I think about,
And by the way, he could still go into a D1 right now and beat almost anyone.
he's a machine.
He's a machine.
He's a machine. When I think about that story, and I had people like that for me, that I looked up to, that I wanted to train like, or they inspired me. As you're sitting now and you're looking at the younger generation and you're trying to inspire them, what would you want that 12-year-old, 13-year-old thinking right now when they're looking up, going, man, I want to be like Tim Tebow? What would you tell them to do? What would you tell them to, hey, go do this?
I would say that it's really important to have role models, people that inspire you, people that can push you, people that propel you. But I wouldn't encourage them to be like anyone else. I would encourage them to be the best version of themselves. We have such an issue in our society of comparison right now. One study says that 12% of our daily thoughts are spent in some form of comparison. You go on social media and it is all about comparing yourself to other people. You need to look like her, you need to act like him, you need to talk like this. And my encouragement is God has made you one of one. In love, by love, and for love. And you need to know that your focus should just be being the best version of you. You don't have to be like anybody else. If God wanted you to be like someone else, He would have made you like somebody else. But you get the opportunity to be the best version of you. And you might be the best at what you do, but it's more important than that is you being the best version of you. And how can you find that 1% every day so that you can be better, so that you can be your best? Not everybody can be the best in something, but all of us get the chance to be our best. And that's something that we can control with our attitude, our effort, and our focus.
You grew up in a large family.
Yes.
You have two sisters, two
Yeah,
brothers.
yeah.
I know one of your brothers really well.
Yeah.
If he was here, he'd say he's a better athlete, right? No. I grew up, I was a third kid as well. And so I'd love for you to maybe talk about the influence that your brothers and sisters had on
Huge.
you and who you are today.
It's huge. It was such a gift to me in so many areas of having four older siblings that I could look up to, four older siblings that when they would go try and strive for something, at 3, 6, 9, and 12 years older than me, I could learn and watch them, but then I could also strive for those things as well, but getting to do it at an earlier age. Like when Robbie, my oldest brother, was starting to train and learning about training and exercise and diet and nutrition and all of this, I would get to learn right beside him 6 years earlier. And when he went to college to go play college football, every month he would send back his workouts to me, and I could do it 6 years earlier than him. And so his college workouts, I was doing it, when he gets there, he's, 18, 19. And so I'm doing it at 12, 13, the same workouts. Once he got there, he would send it back to me every month. And then I would take those workouts and I would try to repeat them as much as I could. And so it was such a gift. And then I'd honestly say one of the biggest gifts was just their support and protection of me, but also, they're challenging me to grow up and strive to be more. When I first started playing basketball at 5 or 6, and baseball at 5 or 6, and then football, and I was doing all three of them, man, every day when I would go compete against my siblings that are 3, 6, 9, and 12 years older, and then I'd go play against kids my own age, it was like, holy cow, this is easy, right? And because we were so competitive, and because they would push me, because they wouldn't just let me win, but they would propel me to strive to be better, when I would go play against kids my own age, it was like, what? This is amazing. This is so much easier. And that was honestly one of the greatest gifts. It really was.
Like when you look back on who you were back then, like what helped propel you to make great decisions?
Well, I know I've screwed up a lot of decisions, but I think some of the biggest things that helped me when I did make better decisions, probably the two biggest things were all of the scripture verses my dad forced me to memorize because when I was first playing t-ball and I was somewhat successful, and after the first game, we went to church the next day on Sunday. And they found out their fifth child and me was a super arrogant t-ball player because I wanted to tell everybody how many home runs and how many outs I got and all these things that I did. And they were like, this child is terrible. So they're like, before you're allowed to play any sporting activity, you will have to memorize scripture verses on humility. And they knew I would do whatever it took to play. So I would memorize the scripture verses. And one of the first verses that I had to memorize is James 4, and God gives grace to the humble, but is opposed to the proud. And it's still something that I think about very often, that God gives grace to the humble, but he is opposed to the proud. And man, I don't want God to be opposed to me. And another one of the verses I have to memorize very early on in my first few games was, the greatest among you will be a servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And we really look at God's upside down kingdom. Is the greatest, is the one who serves. And so those scripture verses would be in my head, even though many times I wouldn't be implementing them or even understanding them the way that I should. They were still in my head, and I would have those verses in my head. And the second thing that was such a gift to me is my mom's voice. My mom's voice in so many of those decisions, I could hear her singing to me from when I was a child. She would put scripture to tune, and I could hear those songs. I could hear her encouragement. I could, after very disappointing days or losses or games or failures, I could hear her voice in my head saying, "It's okay, Timmy. Give it to the Lord. He can handle it." And I could hear that over and over and over again. And what we speak into our sons and daughters has so much weight. Almost every night that I can remember growing up, my parents would come and put us to bed, and they would sit on the edge of the bed, and my mom would sing different songs, and many that were scripture that she would put to tune. And then my dad would always tell me how much he believed in us, and how God has us here for a reason, and there's a purpose and a plan for our life, and how those aren't catchphrases, but they're promises for our life. Do you know when you hear something over and over and over and over and over and over again, you start to believe it? And I don't think that we realize the weight of the life that we speak or don't speak into our boys and girls. Because that voice, those voices of God's words, of my mom and my dad, I still hear them in my head and in my heart. And hasn't stopped me still screwing up and making a lot of bad decisions. But when I have made better ones, many times it's because those voices were ringing in my head.
That's awesome. So as you know, we've talked about my boy who's in high school right now. So I got a real specific question for the high school kids out there. Like, what advice would you give them when it comes to reaching your full potential as an athlete and getting to the highest level you can play?
Well, I would first say it's okay to look at what they're saying, because it can be exciting about if you start to get recruited or you get letters or someone's talking to you. I remember my first day when I was allowed to get letters. I got one from Ohio State and one from Louisville. And that first day, and I remember going home, and it was a Monday, and Monday Night Football was on, and my dad was sitting over there and watching it together, and I go, Dad, like, this is crazy. I got a letter from Louisville and I got a letter from Ohio State, like, this is nuts. And so, they do the intro on Monday Night Football where they like name, they say their name and where they played and stuff. And so I'm like, hey, Dad, how about this? Tim Tebow, the Ohio State University. And I was like, man, this is so fun. And so I think there's a joy and excitement that I would never want to take away from young boys or girls. Enjoy the process. It's fun. It's fun to be wanted, to be a part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
But more important than that, don't let it cripple you. with what they say or what they don't say. Don't let it cripple you with what you've been ranked. Don't let it cripple you with who you've been offered or not offered by. So often I get to meet young people and they're like, but man, I haven't done this and I haven't got an offer yet, and what's going to happen? And it can be stifling and crippling, and it can turn into fear, and that can paralyze you. And now, especially now, we live in a society where everything's out there, and social media and all of this, and highlight videos and everything. And well, this person got offered and I haven't got offered. And it's just another form of comparison. And comparison kills. It kills joy. It kills drive. It kills happiness. And you cannot let that happen. You have to fight that. And I really believe that one of the best ways to fight it is that you focus on who you are and how you can be your best. Your attitude, your effort, and your focus every day. I'm going to focus on what I can control, because those are in my control. And I know we throw these catchphrases around, and it's one of the reasons I love, the character words that you have up on the wall here, because when we show up, that's how we should think about it. Okay, my attitude, what is it going to be like today? Is my joy going to be contagious? Is my passion going to be infectious, right? Am I going to show up with that attitude? My effort. Am I going to truly outwork every single person today? Like, is that really going to be what I'm going to do? Because if I'm thinking about what they said or they didn't say about me, I really believe you have no chance of being your best. And then my focus. Am I going to be so fixated on the task at hand that I really have such a locked in focus, that I really am mind, body, and spirit so locked into what I'm doing that, man, that noise is so irrelevant to me? If we're not fixated with our focus, if we're not so locked in with our attitude and our effort, we have no shot of being our best. And I just would encourage people, especially the young people, man, enjoy the moment, but don't let the comparison steal your joy.
So on those lonely moments,
Yeah.
I like to use the word fear.
It's real. It's
Fear's
very real.
So Tim Tebow feels fear.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people they'll say, courage and being courageous means you're not afraid. It's not what it means. It just means you do it anyways, even when you are. And their fear is real. Fear of failure, man, that's been real for me. Fear of letting people down, that's even been more real for me. Fear of that you're not equipped. That's very real. I remember early on at the University of Florida when you're like getting criticized at a whole nother level, and you're like, man, whatever happens the next 3 hours, if it goes good, I'm probably gonna get way too much praise that I don't deserve. And if it goes bad, I'm gonna get a whole lot of criticism, and I don't know that I'm equipped for that. And but then one of the things that really helped me is I would get to go back and hold on to God's promises of now I'm no longer defined by that, because I'm a son of the King of the world, who will forever reign. My identity doesn't fall on what the world says about me, and falls in what the King has already done for me. But it's hard to hold on to that, because sometimes I would hold on to that, and sometimes you'd kind of let it go, and then you'd start to be identified by what the world said about you, and that's also very crippling. And I'm a baby of 5, as you know, and I'm a people pleaser. My nature is very much a people pleaser, and so that would also lead to a lot of bad things. That would lead to me very often wanting to be liked. And it's not necessarily that's a bad thing, but it can lead to bad things, because you want to be liked. And then when you're not, it can also be very hurtful, or the criticism can be hurtful. But one of the things that's been fascinating thought for me, what if you changed the like button on all these social medias to a respect button? Who would click it? And what if that was our mindset? What if we weren't trying to gain people's likes, but we were striving to earn their respect? Because respect is so much deeper than a like would ever be. Yeah. And that's, when I'm doing it a little bit better in my mind, that's how I think. is, man, I want to strive to earn their respect. And maybe they like you, maybe they don't, but maybe there's something that we can do in life to earn their respect because it's so much deeper and more profound than a like would ever be.
So good. And I know this because I lived it and I watched you, you're the golden boy, you're the chosen one go into Florida and you go into that environment. I'd love for you to talk about how you earn their respect. And I know and the reason it's so personal to me because we've seen the video of you doing those midnight workouts at Florida. We've seen all the grind. And quarterbacks, like, and I'm a fullback, so quarterbacks aren't really that guy, you know. And I'd love for you to talk about, um, earning the respect of your teammates through your hard work and that weight room culture. When you look back on that, what specifically did you do to earn respect?
Well, um, that was a big focus for me. I was trying to earn their respect. I was trying to do it in a lot of different ways, but one of the ways um, that I tried to do it was in this room, in the weight room, um, trying to be someone that would be one of the first ones there and one of the last ones to leave. But I think maybe above most of that was we had, when I got to Florida, one of the biggest alpha males leaders on our team was our middle linebacker, Brandon Seiler. Is one of the best players at that time in the SEC and probably one of the best middle linebackers in the country. And he was just one of the biggest leaders on the team. And we had some great leaders, but he was definitely one of the alpha males. And I looked at him and I thought, if I could go do what he's doing and I could follow him around, maybe I could earn his respect. And then maybe it would also trickle down to a lot of the team. And so um, I went up to Brandon early on when I was there, and I graduated high school early. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, when you're doing extra work, can I do it with you? When you're training, can I train with you? And when you go extra, can I do it? When you do extra core, can I do it? When you do extra net, can I do it? When you do extra arms, can I do it? When you do extra sprints, can I do it with you?" And he was so kind, and he was like, "Yeah, but like you're gonna have to go." Like maybe he didn't use that word,
Yeah.
but so I got to start training with him and doing the extra with him because for a couple reasons. One is because I wanted to earn his respect.
Yeah.
And number two, because if I did what one of the best players in the country was doing, then it was going to also give me a different level of confidence for my first game and the first time I stepped
Yeah.
on the field in conference play and the first time that we went into Neyland Stadium. Then if I did what one of the best players in the country was doing for the last 6 months, and I know how good he is on the field, then how much more confidence is it going to give me when I step foot on the field?
Yeah.
Because I did what he was doing.
Yeah.
And and so he was so kind, and I got to train with him and do so many different things, and and it did help me in some areas earn respect from team members, and it did help me give me a lot of confidence for that first game, that first play against Southern Miss. When the ball snapped to me, and it did help me for my first play in Neyland Stadium in conference play. And it did help me when the game's on the line in my first ever SEC game, and it's 4th and 1, and the 110,000 are going crazy in Neyland Stadium, and the ball snapped to me, and I get to, for a moment, carry the hopes and dreams of the team, you know. But all of that work gives you belief and it gives you a confidence.
Yeah.
And when you put in that work and you know that you've embraced the grind as much or more than the person across from you, then in that moment, I really believe that they're going to flinch before I do.
Yeah.
Because they flinch so many times in the training leading up.
Yeah.
They flinched when they didn't show up. They flinched when they slept in. They flinched when they wanted to put that bad stuff in their body. They flinched when they didn't want to fill their body with the right fuel. They flinched when they didn't care. They flinched when they didn't focus. They flinched in all of those moments. And when all of those moments are built up, those blocks are put on blocks or put on blocks, that foundation is strong. Now in this moment, you're going to flinch before I do.
Yeah.
And so that would be part of the mindset and part of how I was striving to earn respect.
One of the things that, as you're talking through that, I think one side of you that I get to see that, maybe actually people get to see it now with SEC Network and everything. You have good banter. You have good locker room. You're not just serious and reading your Bible all the time, right? And I think um, as people are watching this, I think that's super important because you want to enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
And you want to have fun, you want to have laughs. It's not all just, hey, you have to be the hardest worker at every moment. Maybe it is being the hardest worker, but enjoying it.
No, I actually believe that it is actually part of getting better is knowing the right ways to recover, rest, and enjoy it, and have laughter, and be able to take that weight off. And there's a heavy burden that you bear, but sometimes it's important to be able to have that relief and that joy and friends and laughter, and enjoy so many of the fun or silly things about life. I mean, how many times have we just laughed and cut up, and after we finish a workout, either, laying there exhausted and just, we'll be making fun of each other
Yeah.
and just having a good time. Joy is something I think that's a little deeper, but sometimes just the laughter. It's so easy to take it so serious. And one of the things I'd encourage parents with is, yes, there's moments to be serious, and there's moments to embrace the grind, and there's moments to challenge, and there's moments to encourage. But there should also just be moments when, man, you just laugh so hard that you can't help but cry. And I think for parents, it's really important to do that, especially when your son or daughter is getting to a level where it's getting more serious and there's more pressure. Sometimes when they come home, that needs to be a place that's pressure free. And I knew when I went home, it was pressure free. And man, maybe I had more of a platform in the world, but when I went home, I was just the baby of five like I've always been. And if we're playing Monopoly, it's the same old game. We're playing Risk, it's the same. We're still gonna fight the same way, and they're not gonna treat me any different. I'm still the baby of five. And getting treated that way also helps humble you and bring you back to reality in so many different ways. And there's just I think a peace that it also can give you. And having friends that you can laugh with and do life with, and kind of be outside of the noise with and the silliness, man, I don't just think it's important. I actually believe many times it's vital.
So when you think back of maybe a coach that impacted you in the weight room or on the football field, what maybe who's the one person that comes to your mind, and how did they impact you?
Oh my gosh, I've been so blessed in my life with so many coaches, and coaches have a special place in my heart and have had a special place in my life because they just have a different place to be able to speak into you that my parents could and my siblings could, but it's just a different voice that is a special place. And man, I was so blessed with man, when I started playing AU baseball and Coach Matt, it was awesome, man. The way he believed in me, it was so special. When I got to Nice High School, man, Coach Howard, he's had one of the biggest impacts on my life out of anybody. I went from a state championship school to a school where everybody said, "Why are you going there? Their program's a joke," and that's on the cover of the paper. Yeah, and they were 2-8 the year before I got there, and my dad had a friend that just said, "Hey, Timmy, you should just go meet Coach Howard at Nice." And I said, "Man, really? Like, they're terrible, like garbage." But I said, "Yeah, I really respected him." Me and my dad went down and sat down with him. Within 5 minutes of meeting him, I looked at my dad and I said, "Dad, this is a coach I think I'm supposed to play for." And man, he was just such an incredible man. And I can still remember so many of the things that he taught me and taught our team: character, strength, and honor. Do what's right, do your best, and treat others the way that you want to be treated. He would always say to us as a team, it's our job to love you as coaches, and it's your job to love one another. And he just impacted us in so many ways. And he built up a culture from, I really believe that culture is what you honor or what you shame. In our society, we don't really know what honor and shame is because we don't live in honor shame culture. So another way to say that would be what you encourage or discourage. right? And what he encouraged and what he discouraged, it was just so clear on our team. And he built up a team that had some good players, but wasn't the most gifted team. Had some fast players, but wasn't a very fast team. Had some physical players, but probably wasn't the most physical team. But what we did is we played with character, strength, and honor. We tried to do what is right, do our best, and treat others the way we want to be treated. And man, we played as a team. Probably not the most gifted team, but more so than any other team that we played. There's a lot of teams that put on the same jersey, but it doesn't make you one team. You just wear the same jersey. You're not a team. But I really believe the best teams are because they have the same vision and they're all willing to suffer or sacrifice for that vision because they believe in the mission, the vision, and the goal. And so they're running the same direction, not just put on the same jersey. And man, he got a group of young people and a community that wasn't very much in. He would go to the wrestling team, he would go to the weightlifting team, he would go to the basketball team, and he'd be like, hey, y'all want to come play football? That's how few people we had playing for the football team. And man, he would say, this is what we're going to do. After every time we score, we're going to hold up our right hand, fingers wide open. And as we're kicking off, we're going to all, as a team and as fans, chant, Mo, Mo, Mo. And you're like, why? And he's like, because when we hold up that 5, it means that we're going to stop them, we're going to get the ball back, and we're going to score again in 5 minutes, and we're going to keep the momentum, and we're going to chant Mo, Mo. And it built on to where all of a sudden it's our senior year and you have the stadiums packed every single game with all of these fans and other people that would come just because they wanted to be a part of this atmosphere. And you have thousands of people that are chanting Mo. And ultimately, in my opinion, because of him, we won the first ever state championship and beat a 2-time defending state champion that had all sorts of D1 players and beat all sorts of teams that, honestly, they would say you have no really chance of beating. Why? Is because we did it with a coach that was a leader that loved people, that created a culture that was so special that people bought into and they believed in, and a team that was all running in the same direction for one mission, for each other, and for that goal, and that created something special. And I could talk about so many other coaches, but I can't help but talk about Coach Howard because he was so special. And he had a sudden tragic death several years ago. And I had a bunch of events at that time, and I said, I don't care, I can't do them. I'm flying to his funeral. And it was in Oregon, and it was at a football stadium, and it was packed. Mostly with former players that loved him so much. They showed up to his funeral, and it wasn't just the stadium that was packed. Then it was also standing room around it. That's how many people showed up, because what he left wasn't just inheritance to his family. It was a legacy to people and in people. And you could see that at his funeral. Everybody showed up because they wanted to honor the man that helped them become the men or women that they were supposed to be. That's the impact a coach can have.
Man, that's so powerful. Just think about all the coaches that impacted our lives. It's what we do here, right? It's why we're in existence, is to impact people's lives and to leave that legacy. And speaking of that, congrats on being a dad.
Thank you.
Now
it's surreal.
I'm gonna fast forward.
Okay.
10 years from now.
Okay.
Tim Tebow, the
My
dad.
wife would be so mad when you said that, because she's like, no, don't wonder growing fast. Enjoy it now. Because I'll say sometimes like, I can't wait till she can do this, or I can't wait, and she'll be like, no.
Yeah.
Don't wish that. Enjoy this.
So fast forward, it's Tim Tebow, the dad. How are you going to coach her? Well, one, are you going to be a coach? Are you going to be on the sidelines coaching your daughter?
Probably not. I will do whatever I can to just love her and support her, believe in her, and Lord willing, just whatever she wants to do, just be supportive. But I really hope and pray I will not be one of those dads that is,
You're not going to be psycho dad? Psycho dad?
No. Will I get nervous? Yes, there's no doubt. But I actually believe out of me and Demi's going to be the one that's yelling louder. If she plays sports or whatever she does, and I would probably just be the dad that's like, like pacing around because I won't be able to sit still. But I also think sometimes when you love people so much, when they're doing something, you actually are even more nervous. Like I know when I was playing, my parents were more nervous than I was. And my mom would close her eyes for most plays because she would just be praying, and then the play would end, and she'd say, "What happened?" to them, my brothers or my dad, and they would get so annoyed, like, "Well, just watch," like I don't want to tell you every play, but it's just because they just love you so much that they feel, that weight that you feel, but sometimes so much more. And so I think just our heart would just be that, for me and Demi's would just be that we would just support her in whatever she wants to do, that it wouldn't ever be what we want her to do, but it would be what she wants and ultimately what God wants for her. And I think one of the things that my parents did that was just such an incredible gift is it was just never about them. Is, Timmy, what's your dream? What do you think God's placed on your heart? What do you want to chase? And then they would support us in that. When I was trying to make the decision where I'm going to go to college and go play, never one time, even against me asking a whole lot, where do you think I should go? It's, Timmy, we trust you and we love you and we don't want to influence it. We want you to go to wherever you believe you're called to go. And that's such a gift, even though I'd ask him and I was kind of frustrated, like, no, you tell me. And they never made it about them. It was never their goal. It was never their dream. It was, how can we support your dream, Timmy? And it's just such a gift.
Yeah, I love. Obviously, I've been able to watch my kids. I love what sports does for families.
Yes.
I love what sports does for a kid's confidence, building these character words in their life, and all of those things. You've recently written a book, and you have a message to kind of share that's been on your heart. I'd love for you to maybe speak what the book's about and why you want to share this message to society now.
Yeah, it's called Look Again. Recognize your worth, renew your hope, and run with confidence. And why it's just been in my heart for about 4 years is because I really do believe that so many of us, we forget our God-given worth. And why we need to look again is because we need to look again and see the true inherent worth and value that we have because of who we were made by. And then actually, when we would look at other people, we wouldn't just value them for what they do that we think is valuable, but we would value them for who created them and their God-given worth. And then when we really understand that and we recognize that, we will recognize our worth, and that will renew our hope, that we would have a different kind of hope. And then with that hope, we would run with confidence at what we're called to. Because when you don't know your worth and you don't have a hope, man, it's really hard to run. And I don't mean jog, I don't mean walk, I mean run after what we're called to and truly do it with confidence. And right now, it's just so often that we get paralyzed with comparison, we get paralyzed with loneliness, we get paralyzed with fear, we get paralyzed with all these things. And I believe so much of it comes back to really not recognizing our God-given worth and true value. That we are so loved by a God that sent his son on the greatest love story rescue mission. And when we understand that, it changes everything about everything. And it really does give us a hope because it's based on the promises of God. And then we would run. We would run after where we're called to. And when we do, I just believe that it will not only change our life, but it will change the people we encounter.
Awesome. One last question. One last question would be, what do you do for training now? I want to talk gym. I want to talk working out. Now that you're trying to not have a dad bod, what are we doing for training these days?
Man, I still try to, when I can, get into the gym. And a lot of times, just with the lack of time, I really make it try to do it as fast as possible. Like 2 days ago, I I did a push-pull that was just 6 sets, 3 sets of push, 3 sets of pull, because that's all I had time for. And I did the first was a bench of 6 reps of 4 seconds down, then explode up and no rest, and then right into a kind of a heavy dip that was 12 reps, and then no rest right into a fly of 25 reps, and then a 3 minutes rest, and then I did it again just to be able to get something that's really fast, and I did a similar thing for a pull. But just like, hey, this is only going to take me, probably about 20-25 minutes to be able to get it done, and I was blasted, and I was cooked at the end of it. But that was like just, making use of the
So
time.
you're traveling a ton, and so how many days a week? I'm gonna go real tactical. How many days a week do you train?
It'd be awesome if I got 3, maybe got 4, but it's hard to do.
3-4 days a week,
Yeah.
and then
In a perfect world, I'd get 6.
perfect world, you get
Yeah.
6. How many days a week do you lift weights?
Oh no, that's what I count as workout, is lifting
4
weights.
weights. So if you're doing,
I don't know if I counted a workout if you're not lifting weights.
well, if you could do a cardio workout.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're walking the dog, you don't count that? You
No.
don't count golf as a workout?
No, I don't.
You're not a dad yet. Well, you gotta let your daughter gets a little older. Golf's a workout.
Yeah, I'll count like running, jumping, plyometrics, explosion. I'll count that as a workout, but I'm not gonna count walking the dog as a workout. Will
Do you do anything
You
else?
can.
Do you do anything else crazy? Like, do you do yoga? Have you done Pilates? You done any of those?
I think
other
all of
stuff?
that stuff, like, hot yoga, Pilates, all of those things can be very helpful and beneficial. But I still believe that one of the biggest basics that should be a fundamental staple is lifting weights. And that's not just for an athlete. I believe that it is for everybody. You look at so many of the studies and you look at so many of the experts, and what do they talk about? The greatest, for elderly, the greatest risk of death is when, they fall because their legs aren't strong enough to be able to stand anymore, or they can't pick something up, right? So it's not just, it's for all of us. If we want to be good stewards, then it's in every area. And I just really believe that taking care of our bodies is one of the greatest ways to strive to be our best in life, to honor God, to love people, to live out the calling, to everything we're called to do. And I really believe one of the basics of that should be lifting weights. When we how God created our body, when we lift weights, it tears down and it builds back stronger. And I just believe there's so many ways you can do that. I believe that staying athletic and movements and running and lifting and jumping are so important. And there's so many other things that we can do. But finding ways to put a hardship on our body, to break it down so it builds back stronger, is the key. And I just believe that should be a fundamental staple of what we do throughout the week.
Love it. That's awesome. Man, thank you so much for
My
being
pleasure,
here.
brother.
Really appreciate it. Man, that was awesome. Let's go. Thank you for being on the turf. We'll see you next time. Powered by D1.
That cardio was funny.
That actually worked perfect, because our whole thing, we're doing a bunch about lifting weights. Because people are, you have some people that just like, hey, they just wanted a cardio all the time.
And it's not that that's bad, but if all you do is cardio and you
No.
never lift,
No. And we're putting out all this information on how much weight's helping
It helps
lifespans and
brain and everything.
yeah.